Welcome everyone. Be'ezer Hashem, we're about to begin Daf Yud Beis Amud Aleph. The Gemara had told us previously that the Sagan HaKohanim, he would tell the Kohanim when they came early in the morning to Lishas HaGazis to say Kriya Shema, he would say Baruch Hu Bracha Achas. And there's a shayla in the Gemara, which bracha are we referring to? Which bracha before the Kriya Shema? Is it the bracha of Yotzer HaMe'oros, or is it the bracha of Ahava Rabbah? The Gemara now says, "V'korin aseres hadibros, Shema v'hayim shamoa, v'yomer." After saying that bracha, he would say aseres hadibros, the three parshas of Kriya Shema, and then the Sagan HaKohanim would instruct them to make three more brachos together with the tzibur, and that is emes v'yatziv, v'avoido, and birkas kohanim. Says the Gemara, Omer Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel. Rav Yehuda said in the name of Shmuel, that which they say, Aseres Hadibrois, Af begavulin bikshu likrois kain. Even in the gvulin, they also wanted to say the Aseres Hadibros in the tefillah. Ela shekvar bitlum mipnei tarumois haminim. But rather, because of the oivdei avodah zara, they were mevatil the minhag to say Aseres Hadibros, because the minim or the oivdei avodah zarah would then taina the Klal Yisrael, the truth of the Torah is only the Aseres Hadibros, because that's what they're saying. The other things in the Torah, that's not true. That's not coming from Shamayim, from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and therefore they would deny the rest of the Torah. And it's better not to say the Aseres Hadibros than to have them make such a claim. Tanya Nami Hoch, we also have a brisa to this effect. Rabbi Nosson Oimer Bigvulin Bikshu Likrois Kain. They also want to then say this in the Gvulin. Shekvar Bitlum Ibnei Tarumois Haminim. Rabbi Barachana Sova Lemikveinu Besura. In the city of Surah in Bavel, he wanted to then establish the minhag to say the Aseres Hadibros in the Tefillah. Omar Le Rav Chizda Kvar Bitlum Ibnei Tarumois Haminim. They were mevatel this because of the Tarumos of the Minim. Ameimer Sova Lemikveinu B'Naher Do. Maybe wanted to institute this in a different city in Bavel called Neher Do. And therefore you cannot say Aseres Hadibros Berabim with the tzibur in the tefillah. Says the Gemara weiter, Ubeshabis Moisifin Bracha Achas LeMishmar Hayotze. We had said that in addition to that first bracha that the Kohanim say early in the morning in Lishas HaGazis, before Kriya Shema, and they also said three additional brachos together with the tzibur. We're told also they say one additional bracha when it comes to Shabbos. Now the Gemara explores and says, what exactly is that bracha? Says the Gemara, my bracha achas. What is this additional bracha that they say on Shabbos? Now on Shabbos there was, so to speak, a changing of the guards. There's Chav Dalet 24 mishmoros of kohanim. Each mishmar has 2 weeks of the year, and they exchange week after week. On Shabbos is when they make that exchange. In other words, on Shabbos the mishmar hayotze goes out, and the new mishmar comes in. Says the Gemara, Amrei bechal boy mishmar hayotze, oimer mishmar hanichnas. The mishmar of the kohanim that go out from that week-long avodah, they say to the new mishmar that is now coming in, Misha Shichen as Shmoi Babayis Hazeh, the one who rests his name in this home, in this house, referring to the Beis HaMikdash, Hu Yashkim Beinechem Ahavo V'Achavo V'Sholom V'Reus. He shall rest between you love and brotherlyhood, peace and friendship, which is an amazing bracha, because you would think that the blessing that they would give the new Kohanim that are coming to do the avodah is that you should do the avodah with the utmost preciseness and the most diktuk in the halacha, because there's so many variables and so many details in the avodah, and it's each and every one of them is so important and it's so chamor. If a person doesn't do it in the right way, chalila, it can have a terrible effect, and therefore he'll be nenash and he'll cause terrible effects in the avodah. And therefore, you would expect that they would give such a bracha to the new Kohanim who are about to do the avodah. And instead we're told that they give this bracha. And the bracha being that you should rest amongst you, the Shekhinah should bring amongst you ahava and achava, v'sholem v'reus. In order to then have the avodah in its most ideal state, we need to have first that the kohanim who are doing the avodah, that they themselves have all of these qualities of ahava and achva, v'sholem v'reus amongst them. Says the Gemara weiter, that which the Mishnah said, makom she'amru laharich, in a place where they said to them, mimarich, to extend, have a lengthy bracha. For example, at the bracha after the Kriya Shema Shel Arvis, emes ve'emuna, it's a long bracha. The Gemara says, now, pshita, it goes into a discussion about when a person makes a bracha, there's two parts of the bracha. There's the beginning of the bracha and there's the chasima of the bracha. Says the Gemara, pshita, it's pashut, heicha dekanakit kased dechamra biyadei, uksava deshichrahu. It is simple that when a person is holding onto a cup of wine, and he thinks that that cup is actually sheichar, is beer, uposach umevarech adaita deshichro, and he begins making a bracha thinking that it is sheichar shehakol niyeh bidvoro. When he says the words Baruch Atah Hashem, that's what he is thinking. V'siyem b'dechamro, and then he concludes borei priya gofen, the correct bracha. Pshita, that it's yatsa, that he fulfills his obligation in making that bracha. V'inami im omar shehakol niyeh bidvoro yatsa, because even if he would say shehakol niyeh bidvoro at the end on the wine, he would be yotzei. This nan, the hot nan, like it says in the Mishnah, al kulam im omar shehakol niyeh bidvoro yatsa. B'di'evid, if a person said shehakol niyeh bidvoro on other things, in this case on wine, he would be yotzei. So the Gemara says that's pshita. What's not so pashut is the following question, when it's the opposite. Elaheicha dekadnaki kased deshicha biyadei, when he's holding a cup of sheichar, of beer, v'ksaver dechamrahu, and he thinks that it is wine. Posachu borich adaita dechamra, if he begins thinking while he's making Baruch Atah Hashem that it is indeed wine, that's what he thinks. V'siyem b'deshichra, and then he concludes by saying shehakol niyeh bidvoroi. What's the din? Basar iker brachas linan. Do we go after the main, the essence of the bracha, which is the first part of the bracha, Baruch Atah Hashem, and so on? Or basar chasima azlina, or do we go after the end of the bracha? And that bracha at the end, he said correctly. He ended up saying shehakol niyeh bidvoroi on the beer. Says the Gemara to try to bring a proof. Toshma shacharis, in the morning, posach beyoitzer or v'siyem b'ma'ariv arovim. If he begins with yoitzer or, which is the correct bracha to say, but he concludes with the wrong bracha, the bracha which is really for the night, ma'ariv arovim lo yatsa. Posach b'ma'ariv arovim, but if he begins with the incorrect bracha of ma'ariv arovim in the morning, v'siyem b'yoitzer or yotza, then he is yotzei. So we begin to see that the chasima is what's essential. The Brisa continues on, Arvis, in the evening, Posach b'ma'ariv arovim, if he begins by ma'ariv arovim, which is the correct beginning, v'siyem b'yotzei or, but he then incorrectly concludes with yotzei or, lo yotza, he's not yotzei. Posach b'yotzei or, v'siyem b'ma'ariv arovim, but if he begins with yotzei or, and he concludes with the right bracha, ma'ariv arovim, again yotza. So again, we see that the chasima is essential. Says the Gemara to conclude the Brisa, klolo shel dovar, hakol holech achar hachitum, everything goes after the chitum, the chasima. So l'chara, we have a proof now from this Brisa that if indeed you're holding sheichar in your hands and you begin thinking that it is wine, and you say Baruch Atah Hashem, and then you realize at the end of the bracha that indeed is Sheikha and say Shehakol Nihiyeh Bidvoro, that you should be Yotza, B'di'evid your Yotze. Says the Gemara, you have no proof from here. Why? Shaini Hasom. This is different over there, it's different. Why? The Ka'omar Boruch Yotzer HaMe'orois. Because at the end of the bracha, in let's say the Kriya Shema Shel Shacharis, so although he began Baruch Ato Hashem Asher Bidvar Ma'ariv Arovim, but when he concluded and he said Baruch Ato Hashem Yoitzer HaMe'oros, he concluded with a Baruch Ato Hashem, which has the essence of the bracha again. So you have no proof from there, because over here all you did is just change your mind by saying Shehakol Nihiyeh Bidvoro, but you didn't say Baruch Ato Hashem again. So you would not have a proof that you can go after the Chasima and you would be Yotze. Gemara says, Hanicha LeRav, this would be very good according to Rav. The Omar Kol Bracha She'ein Bo Hazkaras Hashem. Ein a Bracha Shapir. Rav holds that the essence of the bracha is the mentioning of Hashem's name. So then it's very good, because at the end of this long bracha in the morning of Birkas of Kriya Shema, by saying Baruch Ato Hashem Yotzer HaMe'oros, that's sufficient, that's very good, because he holds that the name of Hashem is what's the essence. Elo Rabbi Yochanan, the Omar Kol Bracha She'ein Bo Malchus, Ein a Bracha, Ma'ika Lemeimar. But according to Rabbi Yochanan, it says you need to also mention Malchus. So then what are you going to say? Here, when he says Baruch Atah Hashem Yotzer HaMe'oros, he doesn't say Malchus, he doesn't say Melech, and therefore you're missing the Iker Bracha. Says the Gemara, Elakivan the Omar Rabbe Bar Ula, Kedei lahazkir midas yoim balayla, umidas layla bayom. Since he says that you're to mention the day at night and the night during the day, and he did that when he said initially, Baruch Ato Hashem, Asher Bidvoro HaMa'ariv Melech HaOlam Asher Bidvoro Ma'ariv Arovim, even though he concluded Baruch Ato Hashem Yotzer HaMe'oros, but the beginning did have the Malchus, and therefore it's sufficient. Ki ka'omar bracha u'malchus mi'ikara atrovayu komar. Since he did mention in the beginning the Malchus, so therefore it is sufficient, even according to Rabbi Yochanan, to be then a good bracha, even though he doesn't mention it at the end. So we don't have a proof now for our question about a person who's holding a cup of sheikhar, of beer, and he thinks that it is wine. He begins thinking Baruch Ato Hashem as he's thinking that it is wine, and then he changed at the end of the bracha to the correct bracha and says Shehakol Nihiyeh Bidvoro. Is that a good bracha or not? Gemara tries to bring another proof. Toshma mi seifa. Let's bring a proof from the seifa of the brayso that we brought before. Klolo shel davar. The brayso says, Hakol holech achar hachitum. Everything goes after the chitum, the chatima, the chasima. Klolo shel davar la'asuye mai. What is this klolo shel davar coming to include? Lav la'asuye hoda amoron. Is it not coming to include that which we said just before, when you have a cup of sheikhar, and then you first think that it's yain, and then you conclude shehakol nihiyeh bidvoro, that you are yotze? Lo, says the Gemara, it's la'asuye nama v'tamri. It's coming to include a case of bread and dates. As follows. Hey chidami, the Gemara wants to understand what is the case. Here we're talking about, by the way, the bracha achroina, the bracha after you eat the food. If he ate bread and he thinks that he ate dates, he begins thinking that it is dates, and then he realized that he really ate the bread and concludes with Birkas HaMazon. So he begins thinking Baruch Atah Hashem al ha'etz, and then he gets to Elokeinu Melech, and then he says Hazones ha'olam kula b'tuvoy. There we say, if that's the case, then Hainu ba'ain, that is our question. That's the same question of starting with Shehakol, thinking that is starting with the Sheikhar, thinking that it is wine, and concluding with the right bracha, Shehakol, which is going to then work also, which is our question, do you go after the chasim or not? Same question as we had before. So the Gemara says, Lo tzricha. What are we talking about? Kigon de ochel tamri v'ksover de nahamo ochal. He ate dates, thinking that he ate bread. Upasok b'denaham, and therefore he begins thinking that it is bread, while he begins the bracha Baruch Ato Hashem, v'siyim b'detmari, and he concludes with the right bracha of tmarim, of dates, by saying al ha'etz v'al pri ha'etz v'chulei. Da'afilu siyim b'denahamo nami yotza. Because here, even if he wouldn't conclude with the Birkas HaMazon, he would be Yotzei. My taimo, what's the reason? The Tamri Nami Mizan Zaini, because Tmorim have the Koyach also to be Zon, and therefore the Birkas HaMazon would be a correct, would at least B'di'evid, would be true to fulfill the Bracha B'di'evid as a Bracha Achrona for the dates that he ate. So we're left without a conclusion, a iboy de lo ifshita in this Gemara. Says the Gemara weiter. Omar Rabbi Bar China no Sabe Mishmei de Rav. Rabbi Bar China said in the name of Rav, Kol shaloi Omar emes v'yatziv shacharis. If a person did not say emes v'yatziv b'shacharis, means he did say the bracha of Ga'al Yisrael, but he did not say the contents of Emes V'Yatziv. He did not speak about the praises of HaKadosh Baruch Hu taking us out of Mitzrayim. Beis avodim pedisonu, kol bechareim harogta, v'charchel go'alta, v'yam suv bokata, etc. About Yetziat Mitzrayim, or ve'emes ve'emuna arvis, or he did not say Emes ve'emuna again. He said the bracha Ga'al Yisrael at night after the Kriya Shema, but did not say the contents of Emes ve'emuna about that which HaKadosh Baruch Hu will perform the Geula in the future. Lo yatzi yedei chayvaso. He's not going to fulfill his obligation of saying Kriya Shema kitikuna. Shneimar, it says in the pasuk, lahagid ba'boiker chastecho, that you will tell the kindliness, your kindliness in the morning. To speak the kindliness in the morning, referring to then the chesed HaKadosh Baruch Hu did for us in this context in the Gulas Mitzrayim, when he took us out of Mitzrayim, the chesed he did, ve'emunas chabaleilos, and the emunah that we have, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to then take us out from this galus in the future with other types of nisim and bringing the geula. Says the Gemara weiter now. Now it's discussing another statement that Rabbi Bar China Saba Mishmei de Rav said. And here it's discussing a statement about when a person davens. We know in the Shemona Esrei there are two times that he bows down in the beginning of the Shemona Esrei and twice at the end. The beginning at the end of the first bracha and the beginning at the end of the last bracha. Says the Gemara, V'omar Rabbi Bar China Saba Mishmei de Rav. Hamispalel kishuhu koreya. When a person davens, when he's davening Shemona Esrei, and he is koreya, he's koreya bebaruch. When does he koreya? When does he bow down? Bebaruch. At the word of baruch, which really is a way of saying thank you. In other words, he's bowed down at the word baruch, miloshin berech. That a person bows down his knees, he bends his knees out of gratitude towards his benefactor, towards HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And when he then gets erect again, he comes back up to an erect position. That's zoikeif b'shem. That's when he mentions Hashem's name. Says the Gemara, Amar Shmuel, my time with the Rav. What's the reason why he gets erect? He stands up in the erect position when he says the Shem of Hashem. Says the Gemara, Dirshu Hashem zoikeif kifufim. HaKadosh Baruch Hu erects those who are bent down, and therefore it's appropriate to then stand up once again in erect position when mentioning Hashem's name, that although he is bent down in humility and he has fear from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but he has bitachon by Hashem, and therefore he's zoikeif kefufim. Meisvei, asked the Gemara, Mibnei Shmi nichashu. The pasuk says, because of my name, you will be submissive. It sounds then, therefore, that when you say Hashem's name, you shall then be submissive. Not then stand erect. Says the Gemara, a diuk, miksiv bishmi, does it say bishmi, in my name? Mipnei shmi kasiv, it says because of my name. Omar le Shmuel lechia barav, Shmuel now says to the son of Rav named Chia, the statement that we learned before, Bar Uryan ben Torah, he addresses him, Tov ve'emalach milsa ma'al yasa dama avuch. Come and I will tell you a matter that your father had said. Hochi amar avuch. This is what your father Rav had said. Keshehu koreya, when a person is davening and he's bowing down in the beginning and at the end of Shmona Esrei, he's koreya be baruch. He bow downs when he says the word baruch. Ukshehu zoikev b'shem, and when he then says the name Hashem, he then gets into an erect position, standing up once again. Rav Sheishes Kikara. Rav Sheishes describes to us on the top of the next Amud, Kikara, when he bows down, what is the procedure? How should he bow down? In what way? He explains, Kara kichizra. He shall bow down like a stick, just like a stick. It's one piece, and therefore when you then push it down, it goes completely all at once, quickly down. That's how a person should bow down. Kikazakif, when he then goes to an erect position, zakif kechivria. He's zakif kechivria, like a snake. The snake, when it goes up to an erect position, it first puts his head up a little bit and slowly the rest of its body in an erect position. And that's the procedure for bending down in the Baruch and then getting up to an erect position when he mentions Hashem's name.